Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Kainai, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Ipitimisoak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Now, before I take a motion for the adoption of the agenda, I would like to recognize an individual in this room that is unfortunately going to be leaving our organization after many years of incredible dedicated service to the town of Edson. Our General Manager of Infrastructure and Planning, Mr. Clayton Kitlitz. This will be his final meeting with us. Since joining us, he has really leveled up the operations within the town of Edson, has been an incredible leader, provided fantastic support not only to his staff, but to this council, and put in a number of programs and policies that has really strengthened this organization. And on behalf of CO Beverage, Town Council, and I think the entire team here at the Town of Edson, we are going to miss you incredibly, but we wish you very well in your retirement, and hopefully you'll come back to visit someday. So thank you very much for your service. And with that, we do have an addition to the agenda today, so if I can get a motion, please, for the addition which is on the screen. Please go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that the agenda for the August 18th, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted with the addition of item G7, Highway 16 East, Fortis Powerline Upgrade Quote.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, for the minutes of the July 21st, 2026 regular meeting of council? Councillor Wilson-Lear.
I move that the minutes of the July 21st, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns with said minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, but we do have a presentation this evening. I would like to welcome up our acting RCMP Sergeant Jeff Sutherland, who is acting as our leader of the detachment, our chief of police currently, joining us from Evansburg. So welcome to Edson, Sergeant Sutherland.
Thank you very much. Pleased to be here. Pleased to meet all you guys. I could say already I've only been here for just over a month, and the warm welcome that I've gotten in the community has been phenomenal. Everybody's very pro police, and they speak highly of you. Christian spoke highly of you guys and your partnership together. So I look forward to working with you. I figure I should share a little bit about me so you guys know a little bit of who I am and where I come from. I'm a 17-year member right now, posted all to Alberta. I've done a little bit of work up in Nunavut, up in Joe Haven, doing just kind of relief work there. Out of Depot, I went to Assumption, or Château, if any of you guys know the north. Busy little fun spot. From there, I jumped down to Muskwachees, spent a bunch of years down there, worked the floor there, jumped over to the gangs and gun unit there for a couple of years. And then from there, I jumped into their investigative GIS unit and just kind of did more like person crimes, higher end crime, stuff like that. After that, I jumped over to Sturgeon County, Morinville, took a promotion there, ran my first watch, looking after a crew of guys there. Didn't stay too long on the floor there. They bounced me back over into an investigative unit, and I took over and ran the Morinville GIS unit for a few years. And then I decided I want to get back to the floor, and I went up to Evansburg. And for the last 3 years, I've been running the Evansburg detachment, which was a big change. That was my first jump into working with councils, and nobody teaches how to do that. So that's been a learning curve, how to talk and deal and figure out what you guys need. So they were great with me over there. And when Christian decided to retire and enjoy the rest of his life there, they asked me to come up and take this for a run for a little while. Helps me learn a bigger role, bigger detachment, and kind of go from there. So it's, like I said, it's been good getting to know everyone. I haven't got out in the community as much as I wanted to yet, but I'm finally think I got my feet underneath the ground here by the end of this week, so I should be able to get out and start meeting people and just getting to know the town a little bit more. Yeah, that's kind of where I come from. I am I'm from an RCP family, so I've been doing this for forever. My old man and my grandfather were both members, so I lived in Saskatchewan, Tuktoyaktuk and Nuvik. Really, our family lives in Breezes. We got a big family within this organization. I think there's about 14 of us right now. So, yeah. I think we're just nuts. That's all. So, yeah. So that's the biggest thing about me. I think I'm pretty easygoing. I come from a very operational background with my policing. Right. I'm learning the admin side of stuff right now and going through all that kind of stuff. So, if you guys have questions for me ever, you can kick me an email, whatever it is. I will make myself as open as I can to help you guys out with where we want to go. The crew of guys we've got working right now, we've had a good sit downs. We've got a good crew. Busy right now, right? There's fortunately a few criminals back out in the town and in the countryside that we need to move back onto another town or into jail. So it's that's where I'm at right now. Loving it. I hope you guys enjoy my time here. I do. I'll put it out there, when it goes by, if it goes by promotion, this job, I am hoping to put my name in for it because I'd like to come here full time. I could figure that out after being here for a few weeks. I think this would be a great community to sit in and work and spend the next few years with. So yeah, that's about me. Any questions about me or anything you guys want to know?
All right. Do you have any questions for our commanding officer? So welcome to the community. Certainly Edson is a fantastic place, despite the element of our community that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if dealing with criminals is easier or politicians, but you can just save that for yourself.
Easier for me to talk to criminals.
Yeah.
That's my comfort zone.
So I guess one question I have for you, since you've taken the time to be here, you've been here for a few weeks. Any things you've noticed? Any changes you've made in terms of what's going on at the detachment?
No big changes yet. I didn't want to come in like a steamroller. I did that in Evansburg, and that's it's hard for the members to adjust if I come in too quick. We are making some changes, just within schedules and stuff that I think that can better give us coverage, give better supervision to my members out on the road, so that we can give them better guidance and just kind of work from there. That's kind of really the big thing. Thankfully, that detachment just went through that big reno that it did, so I don't have to deal with that mess. So the building is in good shape. No major changes on the front end. The only thing I've noticed just kind of watching our stats and seeing our files is our county side is getting hammered a little bit right now with some thefts. And so I'm meeting with all the oil fields tomorrow out in us and Hinton and a bunch of other detachments are just going to try to come up with a game plan with that. But that'll leak into town if we don't get a hold of it now. So that's kind of the big push I got going on right now. So we can hopefully clean that up and enjoy the rest of the summer.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Council. Any further questions? If not, thank you so much for taking the time. You're free to stay if you like, but we certainly understand if you want to get rolling back home. So,
No, I'm staying the night here anyways.
all right.
Yeah, but it's all good. Like I said, if you guys need me, you know how to find me, and we'll get to know each other down the road here.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. We are going to move on to bylaws. We're going to go over to bylaw number 2339, the Municipal Development Plan bylaw. Presented by Mr. Kitlitz. Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are pleased tonight to bring forward the bylaw for first reading for our new municipal development plan. As council is aware, we've been working on this project for just about 14 months now, and now begins the process of bringing this into council and the public realm for a decision. I'm going to pass the torch over to Chelsea Rudolph and Natalie Tromley, who are with ISL Engineering Land Services. As council is aware, they've been helping us with this project over the last 14 months, and so they're going to present virtually for first reading, for consideration of council.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. It's just myself tonight, actually, a little last minute change, but really happy to be here tonight. Just going to share my screen with our presentation and then we will get started. Can you see that okay on your end?
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. We'll run through this. Okay, so yeah, good evening, everybody. Yeah, as Mr. Kitlitz mentioned, we're here doing the presentation for first reading of bylaw number 2339, Town of Edson Municipal Development Plan. We have a short presentation for you this evening just to run through the project overview. We'll be introducing a few key components of Edson's new municipal development plan and then discussing a few next steps to get us to project completion here. So I know we've already run through this, but just, one more time. A municipal development plan is a long-range planning document that guides community growth, development, and infrastructure needs. They identify objectives and policies that link both the physical and social development of communities and tend to contain general policies about things like future land uses, development, sustainability, transportation, utilities, and municipal facilities. Throughout this presentation, we will refer to the Municipal Development Plan as its acronym, MDP. So if you hear us saying that acronym, it is just the short form of Municipal Development Plan. It's important for communities to complete regular reviews and sometimes updates of municipal development plans to make sure that community needs are being reflected, that evolving development trends are being considered, and just to account for general changes in communities over time. For Edson's MDP update specifically, there were three main things that we went into the project looking at. First was making sure that we're reflecting conditions of the community on the ground today in 2026, that we're considering current growth projections and what we think might happen with the community's population and growth in the near future, as well as alignment with recent updates to provincial legislation. And just in case anybody's wondering why MDPs are important, they are actually required for all municipalities in Alberta. Legislative requirements for municipal development plan content are outlined in the Municipal Government Act, which is the provincial legislation we use here in Alberta. And MDPs are adopted by local bylaw to guide how communities change over time. So as you know, we're here as part of the formal adoption process, giving first reading tonight. So this is the first step of the formal bylaw adoption process for a statutory plan of this nature. In terms of the process that we followed to get here today, we started the project back in June of 2025, completing some preliminary background information and foundational work. Between December of 2025 and May of 2026 is really where we completed the bulk of the draft of the new municipal development plan. And now, kind of since May and over the summer, we've been in the third and final phase of the project, which is all about finalization and adoption. So fine tuning the document based on our final round of public engagement, as well as going through the formal adoption process, which, like I mentioned, this is the first step in that process. And we're excited to be on track to complete the project by our original target deadline that was set by the town when we first started. So really, really exciting to be here. As part of the process we followed for developing the new MDP, we did undertake 3 rounds of engagement with the community. The first occurred between January and February of 2026. So it was really about generating awareness for the project and gathering preliminary information from the community about what they envision for the future of Edson. The second round of engagement took place between March and May of 2026, which really was about refining this vision and understanding what the main community's priorities were. And then the third and final round of engagement occurred between June and July 2026, which was about sharing the draft MDP and gathering input about the direct draft objectives and policies that we had included within the document. And throughout every step of the process, the information and direction that we received along the way enabled us to start preparing Edson's new MDP. So in terms of what that in-depth process looked like, we started by carrying over all the content from the existing MDP, which was completed in 2016, and reviewing that content for relevance and clarity. We then revised existing policies based on identified gaps and priorities. And then we added new information based on community input and direction from town administration and council. And the result of all of that effort produced a draft MDP that is being presented to you tonight. And to help the community acquaint themselves with this new MDP, there's a few main pieces that we thought would help to be aware of. So the first are the main MDP sections. So these include kind of what to know. So things like the purpose of the document, the history of the community, as well as the new MDP vision. Then there's also what we're going to do, which are the policy sections that contain town commitments for how we hope the MDP vision will be achieved. And then when you look at the structure of the document, there are four main pieces to understand. The first being the vision, which describes the desired future state of Edson to guide long-term planning decisions. Second are the community priorities, which are desired focus areas that were identified by community members. Third are the policy objectives, which are desired outcomes resulting from implementation of MDP policies. And fourth are the MDP policies themselves, which are commitments that guide future action and decisions to hopefully achieve one or more of the policy objectives. We do hope that having kind of a quick overview like this can make getting used to the new document a little bit less overwhelming. Hopefully exciting and not overwhelming, but just in case. And then when we look at the main changes or differences that you might notice when looking at the new MDP, they generally include an updated document template that aligns with the town's branding and colors, professional photographs from around the community. We've introduced community priorities. There's a revised vision statement and policy objectives. We've removed redundant and irrelevant policies, and we've also added new policies to capture topics of importance. And then lastly, as what goes with all statutory plan updates, we confirmed alignment with legislative requirements. So this presentation was designed to be a quick snapshot and to kind of run through all that information really quick. If first reading is given tonight, our plan is to return to council for the public hearing and second reading on September 1st of 2026, which is where we would give a more detailed presentation about various aspects of the project. And then depending on how that meeting goes, the plan would be to return hopefully in October for third reading of the bylaw. So with that quick overview, I leave council with the request for decision tonight, which is that council give first reading to bylaw number 2339, Town of Edson Municipal Development Plan. Yeah, that's kind of the main purpose of the presentation. And that concludes our formal presentation for the evening, but I'm available to take any questions or comments if there are any. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Rudolph, for your presentation this evening. Council will open the floor to questions. Councilor Wilson-Lear.
Yes, through the mayor to Ms. Rudolph and GM Kitlitz. I did a little bit of a deep dive over the last months of being on council, just in terms of us not being involved, the newer council members not being involved in the initial workshops and things like that were held. We were given opportunities along the line to put some input in, and I really appreciate that, and I've mentioned that in the past. But with a public hearing on the horizon, my questions might be, they're broad, but I just wanted to ask, when I reviewed the current MDP with the proposed future development concept, I noticed that some sections, that there's significant changes, even from the June 2026 draft that's on the Engaged website, Engage Edson website. And I also noticed that some of the maps had changed from the current MDP. And I'll just focus on one of the maps, which is on page 27 of the proposed MDP, the Future Development Concept Map. Some lands were currently are identified as industrial serviceable, and now are shown as unplanned areas, including some identified as serviced. And I'm just wondering if administration can explain why those designations have changed and what practical effect that change has on the future development potential of lands. And mostly I'm just asking this because before second and third reading, I guess I was looking for if council could be provided with a mapping chart or cross-referencing, highlighting the significant land use and policy changes between the current and proposed MDP, along with some rationale for those changes. And I'm just asking that for significant changes. And then I have one other question, if that's okay. And again, this is administrative as well, and just for some clarity, and maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but the land designations and future transportation connections in this NDP adequately protecting the possibility of a future Highway 16 bypass and the economic opportunities and potential negatives associated with it. And I'm just wondering this out of due diligence for the future. Should section 4.3.3J, which is on page 33 of the draft, be strengthened from may prepare strategies to should prepare strategies? And I noticed from my dive into the three documents that there were a lot of changes in relation to may and should and will. So that's where that question is coming. And it's, most importantly, though, I'm looking for the comparison of changes from the current MDP to the proposed changes for final consideration significant to land use and transportation corridors. And just to go back to our April 7th meeting, where Mr. Tom McCormick of Metro Economics had presented, I'm not quoting him, but the basics that were said in that meeting is that our economic base is strong, but it is going to take change to have policies that allow for future growth. And this council and future councils may be looking at expansion and diversifying in other areas. And he had mentioned things like pharmaceuticals, chemicals, AI, future growth challenges in Edson. And as this is a long-term plan, I just wanted to kind of touch on that. So, thank you.
You want to take that, GM Kitlitz, or would you like to take that, Chelsea? GM Kitlitz, go ahead.
Well, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Whistler there. So that's a lot of questions. Some of the changes, I guess what I will say from the previous versions to now, we had a legal review done, so some of the recommendations are from our legal counsel. So, but I think this might be best if it's okay with council. We can bring back this analysis as part of the public hearing. Would that be sufficient? Is that acceptable, or would you like us to try to dive into that right here? If we had the time, we could bring back some comprehensive analysis of what those changes are and what they mean. Is that fair?
Through the mayor to GM Kitlitz and our presenter, that's actually what I was anticipating would happen, that I was a bit ahead of the game because the public hearing needs to happen. And also those public engagement summaries that are mentioned in the RFD will be coming to us at a later date as well. So I felt that was important to just note. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to, maybe the mayor and administration, if we do have any slight changes, are we addressing them tonight, or is the idea to address them after the public hearing? Is that, and just spinning off of what Councillor Wilson-Lear, I know she had mentioned changes as well, but we want to address those after the public hearing. Is that how I'm understanding that?
Through to Councillor Taylor, yeah, we should do the public hearing first to get the feedback from the public, at which time we could have those discussions as part of second reading, and then bring that forward as part of third reading for finalization.
That's fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll take a motion for first reading, please. Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
I move the council give first reading to bylaw number 2339.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Rudolph.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody.
You too. All right, we're going to move on to Civic Center debenture bylaw number 2340, presented by Denise McDonald, our Chief Financial Officer. Go ahead, Ms. McDonald. Jessica, turn your mic on, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just wait for the presentation to come up. I'm happy to present to you the Civic Center Debenture Bylaw 2340. The project itself, plans and specs have been prepared for a total cost of the project of $5 million. Grants and contributions to be applied to the project is $1.5 million from reserves, $1 million from grants, and a debenture of 2.5 for a total of $5 million. Financial instruments need to be completed before the project can commence, and therefore the reason why we started with the bylaw and gave it first reading. So just for public transparency, to bring you along with the steps in passing a borrowing bylaw. So first reading was given July 21st. It was advertised for 1 week, July 27th, advertised for a second week, August 3rd, and the petitioning opportunity, which closes today at 4 o'clock, August 18th. We have not received a petition for this bylaw, and therefore council is open to second and third reading tonight, after which there's a 30-day court application period where we have to wait before receiving the funds for the borrowing bylaw. This is just a financial summary that shows the project cost and the funding sources that I've already mentioned. The debenture details, these are all just updating the current interest rates, indicative rates at the local grants to local authorities. Loans to local authorities is the new name of it. I just updated the 30-year at 4.7 currently, which would hit the tax rate at $156,300, which is just approximately $1 million increase. Current financial context, our debenture debt at December 31st was at approximately $8.1 million, and we're forecasting a number of calls for debentures. The aerial truck, which will be in 2026, and the Civic Center will also be in 2026. There are no outstanding arrears. With that, I will pass it back to Mayor and Council to give second and third reading to bylaw 2340.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Council will open the floor to questions. Councillor Holden.
Through the mayor to council and administration. First, more of a comment. This is long overdue. This is an excellent opportunity. I'm not fond of boring, but this debenture makes sense. It's investing in a future long-serving civic center rather than continuing to patch up a facility that, although it has served these citizens well, it's now past its prime. Further repairs are just not financially prudent, and I do support this bylaw. I do have one quick question, if I may. If there are any funds left over of the $5 million, what would happen to these funds?
Ms. McDonald. If you want to queue up your microphone. There we go.
Thank you for the question through the mayor to Councillor Holden. The revenue is drawn on certain times of the project. So the debenture will be drawn first for the purchase price, and then as we spend money, we will utilize grant and then reserve last. So if, for instance, the project comes underspent, then we will just not draw money from reserves to support the project.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to council and administration and anyone watching. I made my comments clear at the last meeting that I'm supportive of this project. I think all of council did. But I just want to also just mention about the overwhelming positive response we received from the community. It's amazing to see the community sort of get on board with this project, see the vision we're trying to create. I think we can be honest that when we ventured into this, we didn't know how the public was going to respond, but they have responded very positively, and they're excited for the change. They see the vision and are looking forward to us sort of taking that building at the end of Main Street sometime in the new year. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Anybody else? Just echo what Councillor Taylor just said. It was actually quite shocking to me that the overwhelming positive response to this purchase. And I think that if you look at history in communities, positive responses for town halls, and we might be one of a handful. So that's good news. I think it speaks to the transparency we've had through this process. And 16 years ago, a decision was made not to move forward, and we're seeing the results of that here today. If you look back, I think today we can say that maybe that was a good decision, because I think we're getting better value for dollar, and utilizing a building in our community that otherwise would not be utilized. I don't see any other organization or business in today's economy taking a space that large. So I'm looking forward to seeing our staff working in appropriate workspaces and having chambers that the public can come in and hold council to account. So with that, I will take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Fogarty.
I move the council give second reading to bylaw number 2340.
Thank you, Councillor Fogarty. I will mention, I forgot to mention this earlier, the one comment I had from a member of the public, if we could put a watch clock tower back at the bottom of Main Street, they would appreciate that to bring back the history of Edson. I'm just saying. That was, and the roundabouts and all those fun things. So that was before my time here, so I don't remember that. Yeah. Any questions or comments or concerns on second reading? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. And can I get a motion, please, for third reading? Councillor Wilson-Lear.
I move that council give third reading to bylaw number 2340.
Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. We are going to move on to business items. Edson Food Bank Facility Budget Request presented by Russ Meyer, our Facilities Maintenance and Energy Manager. Welcome up, Mr. Meyer.
Good evening, Council, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time this evening. Okay, so the fire safety compliance request for the food bank facility. The background on the facility: the town of Edson owns the Edson Food Bank facility. It was constructed in 1961.
Oh, sorry.
The town of Edson owns the food bank facility constructed in 1961. The facility is currently leased to the Edson Food Bank and the Edson Air Cadets. Fire safety code inspection was conducted following concerns raised by a member of the public. An inspection identified that a fire separation deficiency between the basement and main floor existed. A fire safety code compliance order was issued requiring corrective actions. The scope of work is quite significant, as 65 years of renovations, upgrades have left multiple obstacles on the surface of the ceiling space. Due to the cost of this unplanned work, additional operational funding is required. Estimated project is estimated at $50,000 plus a contingency of 10% for $5,000. So the total would be $55,000. Stakeholder engagement. The town or administration did engage with stakeholders. They engaged with the town of Edson Food Bank. The primary source of information, the condition of the facility was reviewed with the food bank manager. Fire inspection demands were provided by the fire inspector to the food bank manager. Safety codes report contained an order to complete food bank basement ceiling fire separation repairs. The food bank provided the fire inspection report to the town and requested corrective actions. The town is responsible for major repairs per the facility lease agreement with the food bank. And the food bank has requested that safety codes repairs be completed to maintain occupancy of the facility. I just have a picture of the food bank here. Currently, the existing condition, the roof was repaired in 23-24. The repairs were identified by the life cycle report. The main floor has been renovated, and maintained by the tenant, the Edson Food Bank. The exterior brick envelope requires repair replacement in the near future. The existing exterior wall coverings provide poor insulation value. The exterior envelope windows require replacement. They are original to the building. And the electrical requires repair replacement. The electrical repair procurement is currently in progress, and contractors are being procured right now. The facility will require abatement for the asbestos within the facility. Here we have a picture of the basement ceilings to demonstrate just how busy some of those ceiling spaces are. They're full of pipes and electrical, plumbing, as well as other mechanical equipment. And then you can see that the spaces in the basement around the mechanical equipment are very tight, making it very difficult to install drywall ceilings in that space. We're typically, in many cases, going to have to go with a drop ceiling that's fire rated. Financial implications. The total project cost is estimated at $55,000, including the 10% contingency. Administration recommends funding the budget increase from the Capital Municipal Facilities Reserve. Current available reserve balance is $56,706. The reserve balance following the proposed transfer would be approximately $1,706. A planned 2026 contribution of $58,848 is expected to restore the reserve balance to approximately $60,554 at the beginning of 2027, assuming no additional withdrawals or budget variances. Administration's recommendation that council approve an increase of $55,000 to the 2026 building maintenance operating budget for emergency contracted services to be funded from the Capital Municipal Facilities Reserve for the installation of required fire separations at the Edson Food Bank facility to address fire safety code compliance requirements. Thank you for your time this evening. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Council, open the floor to questions. Councilor Fogarty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor, I'm wondering about the requirement of abatement of asbestos. Will any of that need to be done as part of this, the funds that you're asking for here for the fire code safety? So that's my first question, so maybe I'll get an answer for that one first.
Okay. Through the mayor to Councillor Fogarty. No, right now we don't actually have to access any funds for asbestos abatement. The areas where the fire separations are being installed, it's currently open ceiling, so we won't have to worry about that.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Mayor, if it's all right. Second question, I'm just wondering about whether a closure of the food bank will be required for this work to be done. It'd be nice if we didn't need a food bank in our community, but I know a lot of people do depend on it. And I'm just concerned about a closure of the building while this work is done.
Through the mayor to Councillor Fogarty, we won't have to close the building. It's actually we should be able to access the facility off hours and get materials in there during times when we can get access to the facility. Sorry.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Holden.
Through the mayor to the presenter, I do see that this building is going to continue to cost money down the road, and the food bank is an ultimate vital service in our community. I'm just a little concerned that we're going to continue to force to pour money into this building in the long run. As Councillor Fogarty said, the abatement would have to be done. I also noticed in the 26 capital budget, they had a $65,400 cost estimate for the building envelope, which I'm assuming is the brick repairs that need to be done. Would that also include the windows and that? Just wondering if these type of repairs are going to extend the life cycle of this building or not. Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Holden. In this situation, I believe the funds that you're talking about are allotted for maintenance projects in 2027. Currently, the exterior does need repair, and the windows, I believe, is one of the capital projects we'll be applying for in 2027 as well. Currently, though, the projects we do have ongoing are replacement of the electrical systems. We have a distribution system there that is code deficient. So to answer your question, we will have to invest some funds into the facility to ensure its long-term viability. But currently, right now, we can keep the facility operable until other alternative arrangements can be made.
Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll take a motion from the floor, please. Councillor Fogarty.
I move that council approve an increase of $55,000 to the 2026 building maintenance operating budget for emergency contracted services to be funded from the Capital Municipal Facilities Reserve for the installation of required fire separations at the Edson Food Bank facility to address fire safety code compliance requirements.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Council, any debate on said motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And we're going to go to the Shocker Shack facility life cycle discussion. Mr. Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm contagious. Okay. I know. So the Soccer Shack facility life cycle. So background on Soccer Shack, before we get started, I'd like to address one item on this presentation. The Soccer Shack, this reiteration of it, was constructed in 2008, not 1985, as the presentation indicates. So background on the facility, the Soccer Shack was constructed in 2008 and currently provides limited access to the public. The facility is operational from late spring to, the facility is operational from late spring to September. The existing services do not allow for operation beyond summer months. The water is connected to the community gardens. Currently, the facility access is only provided to the Town of Edson Minor Soccer Association. Washroom cleaning and supply restocking are completed by the user group. The attached storage workspaces are exclusively used by the association, and the facility is currently in disrepair and requires significant investment to extend the facility life cycle. Stakeholder engagement. The Minor Soccer Association, Edson Minor Soccer Association, was consulted in March 2026 and June 2026. Operational needs were identified as being washrooms and approximately 100 square feet of secure storage space. We discussed future service levels and replacement options. Additional gathering spaces and concession areas were identified as desirable amenities. Currently, the only space that provides shade beyond the Soccer Shack is the gazebo that's located at the facility. Feedback has informed administration's recommendation. This is an example of the damage. You can't really see it from this, but from the big perspective, you can see that the roof is currently in rough shape, I will be referencing some of these structural posts. The structural posts can be seen behind the fence there on the left-hand side. Here we've identified the five posts that need to be replaced. Structural damage. So 5 supporting columns have failed. Due to frost heaves, the roof structure has moved and damaged trusses. The trusses are pre-engineered and cannot be replaced. Actually, I should say that they cannot be repaired in place. Concrete walls require repair due to frost heave and roof movement on the structure. The roof anchor points have been damaged and the piles require replacement and removal. Here are some pictures of the columns and piles. As you can see, they're no longer really attached to the piles. And this is due to frost heave. And here are some examples of the damages caused by the movement from columns and piles. You can see that the concrete block has cracked. That's because of movement, frost heave, as well as the roof itself moving on the structure. Additional repairs or required repairs. A total of 20 additional repairs are required. Some of the key ones are all electrical requires a safety code update. The electrical distribution, the panels, are no longer supported by the manufacturer and they have reached their end of life. The entry doors have been repeatedly vandalized and have exceeded their useful life. The siding has been damaged from weather and vandalism. The concrete masonry units are damaged due to frost heave and movement of the roof. In 2024, the life cycle report identified that there were some significant spending reserves that should be committed to the facility. As you can see, between 2024 and 2028, they were estimating that $172,100. Since then, that number has grown because of inflation. And as you can see, as time goes on, there will be an additional investment required to keep this facility operational. So one of the options we are going to demonstrate here would be the decommissioning of the soccer shack and replacing it with a seasonal washroom and year-round storage. Demolition and land rehabilitation is relatively quick. It can be completed during summer months at a cost of approximately $117,000. Annual operating costs for the wash cart would be $15,000, and that would operate from May 1st to September 30th for seasonal washrooms. Maintenance and cleaning services for that facility would be provided by the contractor. Providing a secured CCAN on site is a one-time purchase and is relatively inexpensive at approximately $10,000. Increases in capacity for the facility team with the elimination of the facility would allow those resources to be relocated to other aging infrastructure items. The other option would be full rehabilitation. This would likely take several months. The estimated budget cost for this would be approximately $231,000. There is a risk of inflationary cost increases. This would address all life cycle repairs and potentially extend the lifespan of the facility if maintained. Future utility water line replacement would be required in the future to prevent freezing and meet seasonal requirements. Operational, utility, and regular maintenance costs are required. The comparison. Decommissioning the soccer shack and replacing the seasonal washrooms and providing a year-round storage. That would be decommissioning, demolishing the existing structure, including hazardous materials and handling, lead paint abatement, lease seasonal facilities that meet user requirements and are operated and maintained by a third-party contractor, as well as provide a single one-time purchase for a CCAN for year-round storage for the user group. The full rehabilitation option would involve a major multi-system retrofit, complete replacement of the roof structure and membrane, full electrical system replacement and code upgrades, replacement of all electrical panels and electrical. All doors would require replacement, and lead paint encapsulation and potential abatement would be required. Recommendation.
Good evening, Council. Tonight we will be pivoting from the recommendation you see on your screen based on some late stakeholder feedback we got when looking into historical context of this facility. We became aware after the report was made that they have a new need of wanting running water at the fields, which was not discussed as part of our stakeholder engagement. Therefore, we need to go back to our utility department to talk about potential ways of understanding how we can do that and costs associated. And we do not want council to make a decision on this until you have the full cost picture. So tonight we are recommending an alternative motion that will come on the screen shortly. So we're recommending the council direct administration to bring forward a report with further information regarding additional utility considerations for the soccer shack project to a future regular meeting of council. The reason we still wanted to go through the project tonight was so it was in front of you, you understood the situation at hand, and then we'll bring back a more comprehensive report later, so you have all of the costs associated with this project. At this point, do you have any questions?
Councillor Wilson Lear.
Through the mayor to administration, thank you for this. And where I would like some additional clarity as well is around the alternatives. The alternative that we're looking at approximately, or I guess I can move past that now because we're deferring it, but I just had some comments in relation to the decommissioning and then that ongoing $15,000 price tag every year. That's without inflation. So, correct. Yes. I note that while minor soccer identified washrooms and secure storage as their primary operational requirements, they have also expressed that additional shaded gathering spaces and concession services would also be desirable, and now the water. My question is, before we commit to demolition or what's going to come to us in relation to the ongoing annual washroom expense, et cetera, have we compared the longer-term cost against constructing a simple purpose-built replacement facility, not necessarily replacing the soccer shack as it exists today, but a modest facility that could permanently provide washrooms, secure storage, storm shelter potentially as well? I just wanted to make sure that we are looking at the long-term value of the site and the needs of the user group, rather than simply the lowest upfront capital costs. With the new information, my notes are just a little bit wonky. Before we commit approximately the $140,000 to demolition, storage, and seasonal washrooms and that kind of thing, I just want to make sure that we've investigated the cost of a simple prefabricated or purpose-built permanent facility, ones that are kind of referred to sometimes as the RTM structures or the ready-to-move structures, because there's a foundation there, I'm assuming. There are basic garage packages and cabin-style building packages available in Alberta that could potentially be adapted to provide permanent washrooms, secure storage, and some of those other things that the users have indicated. I do recognize there would be additional costs for servicing, accessibility, engineering, and code requirements, but I would like to understand that total cost before we commit to an ongoing rental model. And I had considered making that motion tonight, but with the new motion that's on the screen, that's going to hopefully allow for that information to come forward.
GM Hawken.
Through the mayor to Councillor Wilson Lear, yes, we can include that in the future report with all that information.
Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration. So we're going to just backtrack a little bit into the first thing that you said, that the building was built in 2008. My understanding was the building was built in 2003. Okay. The grand opening was in 2004. There was a fire in 2007. I think Councillor Schramm might have been the fire chief when that happened.
There was a fire in there.
There was. I remember the night it happened. And then the current building, because the shell of the building was fine, the roof caught on fire. And then they restructured the roof and the building then was renovated and continued on. The other thing to note is who built it. And that was Edson Minor Soccer that built it. It wasn't the town of Edson, right? The town of Edson put $0 into construction of that building. And it was, my understanding was it was maintained by EMS, for a decade at least. I think with the fire, there was an insurance claim and the town assisted with the insurance claim for it to be restructured and rebuilt. Now, over time, the maintenance of that building might have shifted. And this is now where I'm going to go with this, and it kind of spins off of where Councillor Wilson Lear had said, is that whose job was it to maintain this structure? Was it Edson Minor Soccer's responsibility, or was it the town of Edson's responsibility? Because if it's Edson Minor Soccer's responsibility, well, that can change our future decisions of where we take things. But if it was our responsibility And we clearly didn't do it. And we are now in this position of this, horrible structure that either has to be completely rehabilitated or decommissioned. Then that's our responsibility to Edson Minor Soccer to replace it. And I like what Councillor Wilson Lear had said was, looking at prefab structures and other things like that for a rehab. Just going back to the question I'll ask is, whose responsibility was it to maintain this building?
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. So this was part of my historical research that I went down quite a rabbit hole today of talking to past VPs, past presidents, and unfortunately, I would love to say that we have amazing documentation dating back to tell us who owned what when, and we unfortunately do not. So the best I can give you on that answer is based on the conversations I had with former VPs and presidents of this association, is there is an estimated time frame based on verbal agreements that the soccer association was responsible for the maintenance of this facility, which includes not just the maintenance of the washrooms, but also if they had to fix the doors or the structural integrity, up until about 2018, 2019. And then it shifted to the town. But again, I can't give you a hard definitive in writing, there's an agreement, there's a lease agreement or anything like that.
Councillor Taylor?
All right, through the mayor to all of council and administration. And I think the words you say is that we don't have any documentation with this, and this is a frustrating thing when you have when you don't have appropriate user agreements, right? And I know this administration has worked hard to establish user agreements of who can be responsible for things, but ultimately, we can say we're not at fault of these things. However, when you're on council, we accept the decisions of the past and the mistakes of the past, and we are now here to rectify those things. So if we have taken this thing over, even in the last 7 years, and we did very little to maintain it, and I guess another question I could simply ask, and I have it in my notes to ask, the second question is, in the last 7 or 8 years, how much money was invested in maintaining this building?
Question.
Mr. Meyer, go ahead. Your mic was on. Go ahead.
I can research. I can't talk here. I apologize. I can research that for you and get that answer with the next presentation.
Oh, really? Go ahead.
Councillor Fogarty.
Thank you. Through the mayor to administration, I had some of the same concerns, so I won't go through all of them, but we do have a large and vibrant soccer community. So, I mean, we do need to take care of those who, that is their sport of choice. And again, we have a large group who does. My bigger concern was more with, and I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point, I guess, but it seemed like the shifting was the biggest issue here, the shifting of the ground. So maybe things weren't constructed properly to prevent that. So all the maintenance in the world probably wouldn't have saved this building at this point. I am concerned about if we do the temporary washrooms, the cost increase, as Councillor Wilson Lear brought up. I do want to recommend that whatever we decide, we have a very set written agreement moving forward so that we're not readdressing this. With the addition of the running water, I think we definitely need to look at more of a permanent structure, maybe moving forward than just temporary structures and so on. So that'd be my comments on that one. Thank you.
CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to council, I think there's an opportunity here to share. I think we're going to find this with a lot of our buildings that we bring forward, council. This was unfortunately something that we identified years ago when we were thinking about how we wanted to look at, not just the infrastructure underground, but also, again, looking at our assets above ground. And so the processes in which we have taken over the years to understand the conditions of the facilities, and that was, again, of course, the big project in us taking on was the facility life cycle assessment. And I guess I think I can further add to those piles were lifting years, like for years. I recall that, and I you know, being here now for 5 years, I know that these were an issue. Priorities at the time were not in, you know, when it came to our facilities, unfortunately. And so, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, whether we were responsible for it or the club was responsible for it. I mean, at the end of the day, the service is there for our community group. And that really is, to me, that's the crux of it. And I guess I'm curious of what value of how much we invested in it over time. We can bring that information. The reality is, I would say it was probably very little. That's just based on what I know of the time that I've been in this organization. And that's just due to no one's fault, just the prioritization of the, and capacity that our very small facilities team, if you know, up until last budget cycle, we really didn't prioritize this area. And so I just wanted to, you know, just a matter of just cautioning of how much information of bringing back of those types of things. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to bring forward options for council to seriously consider for the best use for the users and what can meet the needs. That's priority for administration. So that's just, you know, some input I wanted to provide for this conversation.
Councillor Pisichny.
Thank you, through the mayor, to administration and council. Regardless of who built the structure, at the end of the day, it's a structure that's on town land. We own it. It's ours. This isn't uncommon in Edson. Our not-for-profits are eager. They get things done. They build it. They would have built it to the code of the day. Identified in this report today in our documentation says that part of the cracking and part of the heaving issues is because the front was all twisty and then the roof wasn't right. We're talking about, let's replace the building. Well, it's a cinder block building. It's a concrete block. Cinder block's not the right. Concrete block building. It was built a concrete block at the time because it's in the middle of nowhere and they're gonna beat it up. If it's wood, it burns easier. Concrete block doesn't burn that well. It's a solid building. It does need some repair. I would think, as a council, we should look at, get rid of that ridiculous roof with the ridiculous overhang, put the simplest truss roof you can put on there with your minimalist overhangs, repair the concrete block. It already has water in it. It already has washrooms in it. It just needs some TLC, and we'll invest some money into this building. It meets their needs already. They have a concession in there if they need it. They have storage in there if they need it. It has washrooms if they need it. We're not having to build anything new. Let's fix it. And then let's maintain it. You know, like the old saying is, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we're not doing an ounce of maintenance in this community where we're replacing. And I can make any report look horrific, right? The problem is today's codes have changed from the codes when they build it. And you come up there and you go, oh, the new codes, and you bring in the fire guy, and now we have to put a ceiling in a basement in a 1960s building because the fire guy says so. It's a solid wood building. It doesn't burn that fast, but new codes because of new materials changes the code. And then you're dealing with things that doesn't really apply to a 1960s building, or in this case, a cinder block building. We had to change the electrical. Well, I'm sure the electrical is fine there. The building's barely used. So if you get rid of that ridiculous roof, the building will probably move on its own and float on a slab. I think we should look at preserving it. They want water out there. It hits all their needs already. They built it for their needs, and we own it. It's just like Vision Park. We own it now. These groups, the times have changed. The volunteerism world has changed. Now municipalities get to take it over. So let's fix it and move on. But you know, I think there's a lot of different ideas we can do. But at the end of the day, we have to be stewards of the taxpayers' money. The rental of a washroom, sure, it's $15,000 this year. It's $16,000 the year after. Oh, it got vandalized last night. Now we got to pay an extra $7,000 in repairs because somebody came in there and hit it, or they lit it on fire. There's all these other risks when you have somebody else's property on your thing. And you don't want anything other than a concrete block building because they're concrete, right? The worst you're gonna have to do is repaint it. And I'm surprised it has lead though, because the building's not that old. The 1985 really threw me off in the documents. It's like, that building was not built in 85. But again, why does it have lead in it? Because I didn't think they had lead in paint in the 2000s. So that's weird that it has lead on it. So that's a bit surprising to me. But again, I think we should lean towards putting a simple roof on it, new trusses, new roof, fix the concrete block, and everything's already there. And yeah, then we'll look at in the future budgeting for a new water line in there and a proper line, and away we go. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Councillor Schramm.
Well, pretty much everything that I want to say has been said. I'm a strong believer in retrofitting that existing building there. Putting in sea cans and portable washrooms is a temporary fix. That's something you do when you're doing a retrofit like this, not something more permanent. And again, Councilor Pacici hit it right on the head. Simple roof structure on that building is going to serve their needs for a very long time. That building, it's a cinder block building. I walked it there today. It's not that bad. The building itself, if you can look beyond what's happening with the roof and all that, I think there's a lot of potential to get this building back into service. And it does meet the current use of our users. And again, that's kind of where I'm leaning, and that's why I'll support. So everything else has been pretty much set.
Councillor Taylor?
Through the mayor to council, I really like hearing the options that we have, whether it is to continue with this building, the retrofit of this building, whether we're looking at sort of a replacement where Councillor Wilson-Lear had said. I'm happy to hear that the CCAN portable washrooms idea is being kind of nixed here tonight, because that's a reduction in service for that group. And I spent a lot of years, or a lot of days and weekends out at the soccer field refereeing over the last 20 years. And back in the day, 15 years ago, Edson was the go-to place to have provincial soccer tournaments. It was. Every year, the Alberta Soccer Association contacted Edson and said, because of how well you keep your fields, how well you keep your facilities out there, you get your pick of what provincials you want. And sometimes we had 2 provincials in the same year, on the same weekend. So my only question is, does the motion that we have here encompass what we want to see moving forward, that perhaps that we have some options? Is that encompass that, or nope, we would need to prepare something else? I'd be happy to make that motion. I will need some wordsmithing, so perhaps a recess, but I'll...
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. We'll move on to Councillor Holden, and then we'll take a bit of a recess and formulate a motion. Councillor Holden.
Yeah, through the mayor to council administration. As Councillor Schramm had mentioned, most of everything has been talked about. We do own that facility. That building does need some TLC. I think that we're leaning towards, this council appears to be leaning towards repairing what we have, doing it properly. I'd like to also have the option for an RTM, like Councillor Wilson-Lear had mentioned. The cost factor between repairing what we've got, removing that weird roof that structure is on there. It's pretty bowed. I was by it the other day. Also considering maybe possibly another gazebo in that area, because they do want more shaded areas, and the large gazebo out in the middle of the fields is the only one they have. So that would be an optional. And I'm not really in favor of this temporary washroom thing, because I see 2 washrooms, guys and girls, and if you're having a tournament out there, how many players do you have there? They'd be lined up waiting, missing their games and stuff like that. So, and let's face it, CCANs are ugly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the discussion on this. Quite robust. I think this is just one of, as Seal Beverage has said, and Councillor Pacici, we're a community that a lot of things have got built by community members, volunteers, nonprofits. It ends up in the town's hands. We had 1 or 2 maintenance staff for many years, many years, maintaining dozens of facilities in this community, which was understaffed. And the town has taken on more and more over the years. We can do all kinds of reports about the history, whatever. It's irrelevant at this point. What is important that we focus on is how we move forward. I won't support any wood structure being put out there at all. Every year we have a fire or some sort of vandalism out there. It is a secluded area. It has to be, like Councillor Pacici said, cinder block or something that's not going to get destroyed. We have people thieving out of the community garden. We have, things that happen out there. It's a dark area. It's secluded. I don't know, reading from the report, and I'm not a building guy, I don't know if it is possible to remove the roof and maintain this and bring it back to where it needs to be. I think we need to take some time to do that research and that homework. We have user groups throughout this facility, throughout this community. We subsidize hockey, ice skating, swimming, Vision Park, tennis courts we just did, pickleball, community rinks, all sorts of different things, the museum. And to say, well, sort of soccer, we're not going to spend any money on you. You're just going to have to wait. I don't think is appropriate either. I do think it speaks to us having stronger agreements in place, and we've had a lot of changeover in different administrations and those sorts of things, and some of that stuff is being strengthened, and I give credit to this administration for the work that's ongoing in that regard. I do think for the next season, yes, we do need to put something out there temporarily, because we're not going to get this fixed before next season, whether that washroom facilities. The CCAN idea, okay, that's great. Does it even adhere to our land use bylaw? I don't even know if we allow CCANs under parks land use. And we just went through the whole land use bylaw talking about CCANs and how ugly they are, and we don't want them here, we don't want them there. But hey, here you go. And I understand administration's point of view. That's the most cost-effective way, and in many ways it makes sense. But I think if we just put the pause button on this and understand the condition, engage with the user groups, and then come up with a plan that makes sense, that work for me. I know we have like the sunshades over in Kinsman Park. Would something like that work out there, where it isn't a large expense? I look forward to seeing those options. So we do have to formulate an additional motion based on this discussion, so we'll just call a 5-minute recess and come up with something, unless council has anything else you want to add to this discussion. Seeing none, I will call a recess. We will return at 8:15-ish. All right, thank you everyone for your patience while we formulate the motion here. So can I get a motion from the floor, please? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that council direct administration to return to a future council meeting with additional information on alternative options for the repair or replacement of the soccer shack.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Do we need anything for the 2027 season at this point? Or is that something we can discuss during budget time? Okay, we'll just move on then. Thank you, Mr. Meyer and Mr. Hawken, for bringing this forward to us, and we look forward to your future report. Up next, Ms. Tate, Corporate Initiatives Manager, Letters of Support Policy L-D-10-C. LMNOP. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Zahara and members of council. Tonight I'm bringing forward the draft Letters of Support Policy LD10-C for council's consideration. This draft replaces or augments our current practices. I'll walk through what we're recommending, what's changed, and why, and look forward to your feedback and direction. So at its core, a letter of support is generally intended to express municipal support for a project, initiative, application, or organization. The town does receive numerous requests from third parties seeking a letter of support throughout the year. These come from community organizations, businesses, event organizers, regional partners, and they can relate to anything from funding applications to advocacy efforts or other initiatives. They vary in scope, in purpose, in timing, and their potential impact on the municipality. Some are very routine, we see them every year, others are not. What is being proposed or brought forward tonight is a proposed policy to govern how we handle these requests. While this policy would normally come through committee first, we have seen a significant increase in the number of requests we receive, as well as some that fall within parameters we would like some direction on. The draft policy largely just formalizes what we're already doing, but it does establish a formal framework which will provide clear guidance, improve consistency, and reduce uncertainty for council, for staff, and for external stakeholders. So here's the problem we're solving. Without a formal policy framework, there is potential for inconsistency in how requests are reviewed, approved, declined, or signed. Two similar requests can be handled differently depending on who receives them and when. If it comes into a certain department and they believe it's within their prerogative to sign the request, it may not go through the same process as it would if it comes directly to the mayor or to the CAO. The greatest risk that we have is in generating a letter that could be interpreted as creating financial, legal, operational, or in-kind commitment for the town, even if that's not what was intended. Applicants right now, they don't have a very clear expectation of what information that we require in order to provide a letter. And administration has no defined threshold for when a request should be referred to council. We work really well with council and the mayor, and we advise you of when this stuff comes in, but it would be nice to have that concrete framework set. We also want to ensure that requests are consistently assessed with the current sitting council priorities, plans, public benefit applied, and this is a rubric we would intend to use. So this policy will address those gaps. Its purpose is to be fair, transparent, and consistent. It outlines the eligibility criteria, required applicant information, and considerations that would be applied. It states plainly what a letter of support is not, and in this case, sometimes what it is not is as important as what it is. On its own, a letter of support does not authorize funding, waive regulatory requirements, guarantee municipal participation, or create any sort of contractual obligation. Putting that in writing protects the town from the risk discussed on the previous slide. It also aims to strike the balance between routine requests and when council authority or an insurance council authorities is preserved for matters that are sensitive, precedent-setting, controversial, or outside administrative authority. A request that may involve or imply municipal commitment comes to council. Signing authority, this is largely what is already happening. The mayor signs all letters approved by council or issued in the name of council. The mayor may issue a letter where council has given clear direction on substantially similar matters in the current term, provided that no new or expanded commitment is created. Councils of the day can change with an election, as we all know, and so we wanted to ensure that whoever is sitting as mayor has current council's viewpoint in mind. The CAO or designate may issue a letter that solely involves direction of work or day-to-day administration with no financial, legal, or policy commitment. Anything that does have any financial, legal, or policy commitment would need to come to council. All requests would be submitted through the responsible department. If it comes into CD, it would come to the executive office to be screened for completeness and compliance with the policy. Substantially similar requests are those where the facts, purpose, and level of municipal support are materially the same as a matter previously considered by council. If there's any uncertainty, again, it could come back before council. We would request that any request for letters of support be received at least 30 days before the letter is needed. This falls in line with all of our other timelines, whether it's a council appearance request or whether it's for milestones and recognition, anything like that. There are times, we understand, where there will be briefer time allotted, but if we put it in writing, then we do have the ability to use those 30 days to make sure that we are informed and we have the time to actually consider implications of what is being requested. The requirements are formalized, and that is the most useful tool we have for managing risk. There is a requirement in the policy for the applicant to disclose financial implications. This is to help us identify situations where a project may create future expectations or funding Some of the comments we've even heard tonight are it's not unusual to have a not-for-profit have a wonderful project that in the end creates operational or maintenance costs for the town. So this allows us to apply that lens. The decision criteria are the same 3 tests we already currently use. Does it support a provincial or federal funding application? Does it align with council's strategic plan and council priorities? And does it avoid duplicating or contradicting existing programs? The exclusions. These exclusions are explicit. It's personal, partisan, political, religious, discriminatory, unlawful, or inconsistent with town bylaws, plans, or land use. I would like to say that we don't get any of those requests, but we do. So this just formalizes our ability to say, I'm sorry. Letters will not be issued when they could misrepresent the town's role or imply approval matter under regulatory review. So options before council, you could approve as the policy as presented, which really solidifies a lot of what is already in place, just gives us that framework. Or you could refer it back to administration and request that we make some changes, in which case the requests would continue to be handled as they currently are until such time as a policy is adopted. Our recommendation is that council approve the letters of support policy L-D-10-C as presented. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, we'll open the floor to questions, council. Councilor Wilson Lear.
Through the mayor to administration, Ms. Tate, thank you. I support having a clear framework for letters of support and appreciate the safeguards that you've explained here tonight, distinguishing between simply expressing the town's support and creating or implying a financial, legal, or operational or in-kind commitment. And then while still allowing routine requests to be handled efficiently. I think you've explained this, but I do have one question just for additional clarity. Under the signing on authority under section 4.2 of the bylaw, I just wanted to ask who determines whether a request is substantially similar to previous council direction, and if there was any uncertainty, and I think you've answered this, but just for my certainty, that matter would automatically default back to council if there was any uncertainty in relation to what a substantially similar council direction was.
Through the mayor to Councillor Wilson Lear. So yes, the substantially similar requests, those are where the facts, purpose, and level of support are materially the same. So that is designed so that we're not coming back to council when the same group is coming forward every year requesting the same thing, just so that we don't bog down your agendas with something that you've seen 12 times.
Councilor Fogarty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor to administration, I guess for me, I do see the need for a policy in this area. But for me, and this may have to occur in camera, I would have liked to have some examples of letters of support that were provided in the past or have been rejected in the past, just for a better understanding for myself what kind of letters we get regularly, just so I understand that. And letters will not be issued for, and I mean, you have a list there that I agree with. However, I think we're always going to find people can claim things to be certain thing that, you know, depending on their way of looking at it, religious or so on. So I like your list there, but I don't know if the wording there needs work. And for me, just some examples would help me better understand the kind of requests we get versus the ones that we don't, or the ones that we approve versus ones we don't.
Thank you, Councilor Fogarty. I do think it's a good opportunity to go into closed to discuss that under third party. Give us one moment. So we're just drafting a motion to go into closed session here. All right, we got a motion that is up on the screen. If somebody would make it, please. Councillor Fogarty.
I move that the meeting move into closed session pursuant to Section 20 of the Access to Information Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We've come out of closed session at 8:55, and we have a motion coming out of closed session. We'll go to Councillor Fogarty.
I move that council refer the letters of support policy back to administration for further review and bring back to a future meeting.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously, and we are going to take a motion to extend past 3 hours as well. Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
I move that council extend the meeting beyond 3 hours as set out in Meeting Procedures Bylaw 2281.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for that. We do have a lot of things still to go on the agenda here. Up next, Mr. Kittlitz, General Manager of Infrastructure and Planning, with the Asset Management System update. And this is what I've been waiting for all week. So take it away, Mr. Kittlitz.
Well, thank you once again, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm hoping we don't disappoint you, Mr. Mayor. I'm excited too. Administration is excited to provide an update to town on the town's GIS and asset management system and demonstrate the progress made over the past 3 years. The update represents a culmination of an action plan presented to Council in October of 22, when we identified several challenges with our current asset management system and established a roadmap to improve our data, processes, and decision-making capabilities. Tonight's demonstration will show the improvements made and how these enhancements are helping administration recommend better infrastructure investment and maintenance decisions. The first step was to develop a comprehensive asset standards framework. The town retained A1 Engineering to establish consistent standards for asset classification, condition assessment, maintenance planning, risk evaluation, and as well as reporting. This framework provides a common approach across all core infrastructure assets, including transportation, water, sanitary, and stormwater systems. I'll make a note that we've also started to incorporate this framework. We're using the framework itself. We've brought in some of the parks assets, and ultimately we can bring in the facility assets as well using this framework. We just started with those core. This framework allows us to apply consistent condition ratings across infrastructure assets, prioritize maintenance and capital investment based on risk, improve our confidence in asset data, and support more defensible and transparent capital planning decisions. Another significant step has been our transition away from relying on the citywide asset management software system as the primary platform. Following a review of our needs and available technology, administration determined that the Esri suite of tools offered a more flexible and controllable solution. Since the town had already maintained Esri licensing and GS capabilities, this approach allowed us to leverage existing investment while improving functionality. The Esri tools that are being used today, we collect field inspection data on the fly, we record maintenance activities on the fly, we store asset information, validate and update our infrastructure records, and share information through dashboards and online web mapping tools. The result is a direct field to GIS workflow that improves our data quality and supports operational and capital planning decisions, as I mentioned previously. Another cool thing we've been doing over the last couple of years is our data quality. So council is aware we asked for GIS summer students, I think in the summer of 2025. So we've had two summers of GIS summer students. They've been out in the field, field verifying the digital data we had, which is a very important part of making sure our data is accurate. Over those 2 years, we've collected all the fire hydrants in the field and verified them, all the hydrant valves, all of our mainline water main valves, all the water service valves for all the properties. There's almost, I can't remember the exact number, but it's well over 2,000 of those valves have been collected. We've done some sidewalk assessments as well as collecting the accessible crossing locations and the other letdowns on the sidewalks. We've captured and validated all of our traffic signs. And finally, the sanitary manholes have been collected. So we're hoping to continue that program, and next year, summer student to continue to collect and validate our assets in the field. Another important thing is in addition to this inventory work, is our field operators have the ability now to actively provide us and assess conditions. Sorry, let me try that again. In addition, our field operators have been actively collecting condition assessment information and recording maintenance activities using the Esri tools, along with the standardized criteria that we have in the attachments to the RFD. This means that whether an inspection is completed by a roads, utility, or parks operator, the same rating methodology is applied. We have again, we mentioned we have the dashboards and we have the web mapping tools. These are sort of the reporting mechanisms and the viewing mechanisms we have available to staff and management to see the actual progress being made, which you're going to see shortly. Finally, while the significant progress has been made, work remains. There's still a need to invest in an asset management software solution in the future to realize all the benefits that a system like this can provide, including tangible capital assets. It's important to remember that asset management is not a project. It's a continuous improvement process that defines how we do our daily work related to assets. As our data improves and we assess additional assets, the quality of our long-term planning and decision-making will continue to improve as well. So we promised a live demonstration, so it's my pleasure at this point to introduce to council our new GIS and asset coordinator, Esther Coyote. She will be coming up to demonstrate some of these dashboards and web maps that we've been working on and show council some of the great data that we've been collecting. So Esther, come on up.
Welcome. And how long have you been with us, Esther?
3 weeks so far, Mr.
There, perfect. We get you to hit the microphone that was already on for you. Perfect. Yep.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Esther Coyote, and I'm going to be doing a presentation for you on where we're at with our current new acquired GIS and asset management software. So with what we've acquired, I would first like to disclaim that this tool is also part of what we've acquired as the town. This presentation was made using the software. You can refer to it as Esri. We're going to refer to it multiple times as ArcGIS Online. We're going to refer to it in many different ways, and you see the terminology, so we're able to align it together. And so we're going to be discussing how GIS helps us understand and manage town assets. So my predecessor had done a phenomenal job in collecting the assets, building the surveys. He had even done some from a presentation, and this is just updating you on the work that he had done previously and also with more future updates now that I have resumed this role. And so what we're going to be speaking about is program objectives. What is GIS? Just to give you a normalized understanding about what we're talking about. What is asset management? Really briefly, program metrics since we've acquired this software. The benefits of this software from GIS to asset management, what that's looking like for the town of Edson, field data collection, and using GIS to support decision making as well as future asset management techniques and developments. Again, the key terminologies here are Esri, ArcGIS, ArcGIS Online. We're still referring to the same software. We're still referring to utilizing the same tool. You might even hear me say Survey 123. It's still the same software. Okay. And so the current program objectives were to improve asset data quality and accessibility, to support data-driven decision-making, to increase operational efficiency, to enhance field-to-office information flow, and to move one source to access data. This is also an interactive presentation, so after I go through this spool, you'll be able to see a few maps, a few dashboards, a few of the surveys we've built so far, and everything in kind like that. And so what is GIS? GIS is a way of connecting information to location, like this building. I'm able to put it on a map. I'm able to tell you where it is, what to do about it, and what does it help us do. So when we're talking about those three things, it all ties into GIS. So it helps you with things like locating a hydrant, a road, a property, or repair. For what to do about it, ties in with asset management for the type, the condition, the size, the status, or the inspection history. What it helps us do, it helps us maintain assets, plan work, respond to issues, and make decisions. Okay, so this is the first map. And this map is a Town of Edson map that shows, well, it's a demoed public version map that shows the park amenities. It also shows a few of the town buildings, and it also shows our road layers. I'm just going to expand it up here. Okay, and so with this new software, if I was zooming in and I go all the way to one, let's say this park over here, we're able to go all the way in, and what I've done is I've categorized it by all the features that are within this park. So as you're able to see, we have a sun lounger. We're able to see we have, I believe this is, yeah. Let me just quickly go. This is a fire pit. We're able to see a few benches, a few signs. We're able to see multiple things. And if I was to go through the asset information allocated to it, I'm able to see the expected lifespan, the condition of the item since the last time it was assessed, the estimated useful life, the estimated purchase year. All of this are compiled within that one attribute in this layer. Okay, and then we have multiple examples too that I have attributed here. I'm just gonna go all the way. I promise we'll come back and we'll see more of it later on. Okay, so what is asset management? Asset management is how the town plans for, maintains, and invests the infrastructure and equipment it already owns. It tells you things like, what do we own? What condition is it in? What condition does it need? What work does it need? And when should we repair or replace it? GIS helps us understand and gives us real-time insights about where our assets are, what we know about them, and then asset management helps us to decide how to manage them over their overall life cycle. Okay, so this is the asset management and Esri deployment progress. The asset management maintenance program has seen significant changes over the last 10 months. Changes include transition to Esri ArcGIS Online, which is where we host most of our layers that we want to share with our internal staff, in future the public hopefully, or to whoever might utilize this tool as appropriate. It also gives us live data sets to reflect real-time changes, and it gives us a single source to find and verify this data. Okay, so this is an example of ArcGIS Online, and it also tells us some of the program metrics, what we've done so far. So we've acquired 10 new iPads have been issued this year. More than 32 unique web maps have been made. 5 dashboards have been deployed. 25 Survey 123 forms. Survey 123 is what our field staff or our operations team uses in the field to collect these real-time insights. And what happens is they collect it, I verify it, or our internal staff will verify it and make sure that that is the appropriate data. And then we're able to build custom maps, custom apps, and anything in that regard as useful for the town. 192 layers have been attributed. More than more than 1,235 data points have been collected. These include asset inspections, repair records. We're currently hosting 3.7 gig of hosted data, actually a reduced number of member licenses. And then we're also using this device called Trimple for a few generated data sets, which would also tie in with field collection. And then over 2,600 data points this year has been collected using Trimble. Okay. And so this image here, I'm able to interact with it. I'm going to go into fire hydrants because it's the best example to use. And if I'm going into fire hydrants, and this is the ArcGIS Online tool, I am able to see information allocated to it. Like, for example, one thing I favor is metadata. Metadata gives me the history of what is going on with this asset, like who has touched it, when was the last time it was updated, how many records do we currently have. And so this one for fire hydrants tells, as a demo, that this layer shows the location and important info of Edson's fire hydrant. It includes manufacturer, pressure rating, installation year, hydrant type, and condition. The data supports day-to-day operations, maintenance planning, asset tracking, and emergency response. In fact, this is one of the tools that the GIS summer student has been utilizing. He has gone in and updated most of this metadata information, so we have a consistent updated record moving forward. Just gonna exit out of here. Oh, wrong place. Okay. I apologize, just give me one moment to exit out of here. And we're back. Okay. Here are some of the benefits of the Esri software and GIS. Esri software for GIS and asset management. So what we've just seen is ArcGIS Online. What you can see on the screen is those are just all hydrant points. Again, if I go into anyone and I select the layer, I'm able to see those categorizations that I've done by table. And so ArcGIS Online Esri is the top industry standard for software that is used for managing infrastructure data when it comes to collecting spatial information. And what we've done is we've acquired this new software, we've deployed the system, and it can now be used to improve maintenance data as it's collected. This software allows us to collect real-time insights, identify trends, prioritize work, and improve service delivery. Additionally, asset inventories are centralized within a common platform. I'm going to switch to the next one. So customized web maps. You are looking at the same map. All I've done is just recustomize it, and it's now a zoomed in version, and you're able to see the roads and you're able to see the labels. You're also able to see some park amenities, and yes, I believe that's everything you're able to see. So with customized web maps, layers are now organized into separate web maps to speed up the view and locating departments for specific data sets that they wish to use. It improves access to spatial data across all departments, and it's one of the foundations established for future asset management initiatives. And so this was one of the maps that were requested internally. This is a map that was requested from the utilities department to track which catchment area each manhole drains into. Unfortunately, you're not able to see the legend in this presentation, but ideally the idea of it was the green was to represent those which were good, and the red was to represent those which might need to have work done on it. And again, this is real-time insight, so staff are able to utilize this as they wish. Going down, now we're coming down to the dashboards. So from GIS to asset management, GIS helps us understand where our assets are and what information we have about them. Asset management is what builds on that. It helps us by looking at these assets collectively, their location, their quantity, their condition, the service needs, and future replacement requirements, so that we're now acting proactively before any issues are to occur. Additionally, with these live data sets, Dashboards can be used to display, showcase real-time assets and maintenance data. In fact, I'm actually surprised since I've been here for 3 weeks, there's been a lot of staff buy-in for using these tools, and they're very ready to use this and apply it to their everyday work because it makes it easier now. And so this dashboard below is an example of how GIS information can be organized to support a broader understanding of town assets and help identify where more information or future planning may be needed. I am going to expand this once more, and I am going to show you an example of how we are utilizing this dashboard, for example. So this is a dashboard that gives a roads and sidewalk summary. It's to tell what has been paved so far, what is still dirt, and what is still gravel. And so if I was to go up here, and if I was to pick whatever region, I am gonna favor Hillendale. And if I was to go and you see it changed there to it's only saying now that 4.3 kilometers has been paved, and the sidewalk length there is 2.9 kilometers. You also have other attributed information like bench information, information about the disc golf nets that are there, how many garbage bins there are, is there park storage, the picnic table, the playground, and the standalone playground equipment. It would be the same for every other region. An example is, I apologize, I'm going to butcher that name, Lothmouth Heights. With Lothmouth Heights, you're able to see 1.2 kilometers have been paved, 0.4 is still gravel, and the sidewalk length is 6 kilometers. And as we see here, there is no other asset information here because I believe, don't quote me on this, that there's no other assets tied with this dashboard. Okay, so going back to the presentation, this is the pipeline that we hope to develop. If I was to zoom in, so what we're doing right now is we've captured the data, or we're capturing the data actively. When the data is captured, we intake this data and we validate it. We do a little bit of QA, QC review, and then we add it to the authoritative GIS layer. So we currently have some master layers that represent our infrastructure like roads, water, storm, sewer. And so this information, before I can add it onto there, I would first verify it so I know that it has been field collected and at the same time it's been spatially verified. And then it also includes asset registry information or asset registry integration / information like asset IDs, how many they are, the linkage, the class, the subtype, and any other information associated in that end. It also includes asset information enrichment like the condition rating, the life cycle, the inspection history. You can even have inspections up until 2022 or 10 years before, depending on how we decide to keep this information going forward. It also has some life cycle attributes. You can actually also, with asset management analysis, you can also assess risk. You can tell in how many years it's going to fail if condition hasn't been done or if work hasn't been done to that asset with dashboard and a little bit of reporting. The level of service it's providing, whether you're categorizing it by zone or whether you're categorizing it by whichever way, the renewal planning, prioritization, and then capital forecasting, once decided, can also be factored into this software. And then finally, the results would be a dashboard or it would be a map or anything that can visually show whether residents, staff, or the council what you've basically done with that asset spatially. And so this is the data flow between field operations, GIS, and asset management. Just a little bit of information. Some types of assets or some type of asset categorization that we can put on here include fleet, transportation, even down to transit, water, wastewater, stormwater, facilities and building, parks and representation, waste management, land property, and utility can all be represented using the software. and bike lanes. So coming down to field data collection, our operations staff has done quite a phenomenal job with what they've been provided. Our operations staff can now collect information directly from where the work is happening. They're using mobile forms and mapping tools, and they're recording location, inspections, repairs, and also attaching photos. You can even attach URLs and other informations while they're on site. That information can be reviewed, again, it will be approved, and then it will be added to the town's master GIS layer so that it becomes part of the information staff can use across the organization. It's also information that they trust. So the information is collected, it's reviewed, and then it's updated in GIS. Here are some examples of the forms that our staff is using. This is a form that was made. I'm gonna try and zoom in here. I think it was better the other way. This is a form that was built to assess the playground repairs. As you can see, this is a personalized form that's meant to collect real-time insights. So we've personalized it to have dates. We've personalized it to factor in all the playgrounds that we have or the playgrounds we're not aware of. The brief description of what needs to be repaired, and also attach a photo and any other further comments that is needed. Another example here is the ball diamond inspection form. Here you're able to see, that's bad. Here you're able to see, you can select multiple things for a visual inspection of a fence or a backstop for the ball diamond like we have in some of our parks. You can collect things like cleaning, the lifting fronts, are there any holes, are there any safety concerns? Again, this is a personalized form that we've worked with staff to say, what are you seeing in the field and how can we best represent this spatially? Picnic tables are on there, garbage bins, are they there, are they not there? And then another one is, this is for a manhole inspection form. And so what you can do here is you can attribute, is it a drop manhole, what the manhole type is, the grading, the condition, which is what would help tell us asset management wise what that looks like, the drop type and the infiltration, and much, much more. The last one is for fire hydrants. One thing I haven't included here is you're actually able to use the survey forms to pinpoint your location. And so what happens is if you're close to, for example, a fire hydrant, and I have said there's a fire hydrant there, and I have asked you to go in and inspect that fire hydrant, and all you need to do is just open your device, and it's able to measure the distance between you and that fire hydrant and picks that location and attributes it to the already existing fire hydrant online. So that way we're not adding new information, we're working with what we already have and then using what we get from the field as new information for inspections. So over here we have the hydrant flushing order number, the hydrant ID, the thread type, the location of the isolation valve. Again, this was personalized in such a way that it's helping our operations staff to work more effectively and making their day-to-day much easier. So using GIS to support decisions, GIS helps us turn large amount of asset information into maps, dashboards, and summaries that staff can use to understand the current conditions again, identify priorities, and support day-to-day and long-term decisions. So this is another example of a dashboard that we have. I am going to attempt to open it this way. So with this dashboard, it's meant to show the town of Edson's mooring tracking. I did play with it a little bit this afternoon. That's why we're missing some information. I apologize. But over here, we're able to see the time, like how much hours they're spending using to mow. And you're also able to categorize it by the region that they're moving in. You're able to tell the total times it was mowed or weed whacked. Overall, right now we're recording 766. If I was to go in here, let's see, there we go. If I was to go in here and select one of the polygons that we have here, we're able to see things like the pickup day, is it an exclusion zone? For me, actually, information that I need to be able to perform things, this are spatial information like the shape length and the shape area, and you're even able to tell the occurrence. Like over here, it says it happens weekly, and you're able to use, you're also able to tell the usage, like what is it being used for. And over here, it tells that it's a sport, it's being used for high visibility sports ground. And that is the same for all these areas that are in green over here. And so if I was to go back one. Okay. And so seeing the bigger picture, you're able to view assets, work, and conditions across the town, like I've just shown. You're able to identify priorities. If I was to categorize this by, okay, which ones haven't been done, you'll be able to prioritize, okay, these ones need to get done first because these ones have been previously done in so time. You're able to highlight areas that may need maintenance, inspection, or investment. You're able to support future planning and use the current information to guide operational and asset management decisions. Lastly, this is what the future of asset management looks like, the possibilities that can happen with this software. So the future of asset management is about building stronger connections, again, between field work, GIS, asset management, and long-term planning. And so the goal is to improve asset registry, improve condition assessment, improve the information we're putting in for replacement costs, capital planning, and asset management reporting. This is already work that we're doing now that we've acquired this software, and we're going to continually do this until we have the most optimal results. You're able to aid life cycle management. You're able to prioritize risk based on consequence of failure. You're able to connect GIS and tangible capital information. We're not there yet. But you're able to also define and monitor levels of service. You're able to integrate maintenance history. And so the long-term goal is to move simply knowing that assets the town owns, or it's to move from simply knowing what assets the town owns to understanding their condition, their remaining service life, their risk, their replacement value, and the future investment needs. Thank you.
Amazing. GM Kitlitz.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this was great, but I'm wondering, Esther, is there any chance you can bring up the dashboard for transportation quickly? And, or even a sanitary manhole inspection and show pictures that are of the actual inspections. As Esther mentioned, the utility staff, or the operational staff are daily collecting data, like daily. Every day these numbers increase. And it's really cool to see when they do a manhole inspection, for example, they've got pictures of how they've done it and what they found in the manhole, or a pothole that's been repaired. They can show a picture before and after of the pothole being repaired. Why is this important? When someone says, well, you know, I hit this pothole and it wrecked my front end, and we say, we actually fixed that pothole 3 days before you claim you hit it, right? We can do that now because we have it right here.
Is this how you know how many potholes you found?
That's how many. So
I like it.
over 1,000 potholes repaired so far this year. And so I don't know if you can zoom into one of those, Esther, and just see if we can find a pothole repair and show the pictures before and after of a pothole repaired.
So if council, do you have the ability to put like circles where there's a pothole?
Well, I think in the future there's probably opportunities for that. I don't think we're there yet. This is more. So here's one of our operators went and filled this pothole, and there's live pictures of and there might be
probably one of our weaker employees here.
Yeah, hard to say. I won't comment on that. But anyway, this is all stuff that again daily. This stuff is being collected in the field, and now we can view it. But like it's almost live, right, Esther? As soon as they enter it, it becomes live here. So
this is live data. I wouldn't press too much just because there are some information I won't be able to disclose in the open session.
Sure. Understood.
But
thank you.
No problem. But over here, you are able to see, I have seen multiple staff have this open on their screen, and they're trying to compare the work that they've done themselves to see how much work they've covered in a day, in a week. so far in a month. I believe this program has been on for more than 10 months now, and they're actively utilizing this. This dashboard, if I was to select a category over here, and it's been classified by zones. If I was to go to zone C, it tells me, oh, it doesn't tell me anything just yet. Let's try that. Okay, this one hasn't been factored in just yet, but overall, we're able to see that 1.2 thousand pothole repairs so far, 1.6 kilometers of crack sealing repairs so far, 5.9 kilometers of spray patch repairs so far. And again, these are real-time insights. All they have to do is just use the survey that they've built, collect the information, I verify the information, and it's attributed in a dashboard. As simple as that sounds, it's as effective that way. So this is an example. One thing I hadn't shown that I think might be of interest is there's also future possibilities for, this is an internal town of Edson map. There's a disclaimer box over here. And all I'm able to do is, it's still the same things from the presentation. And so what you're looking at is, you're able to see the town boundary. You're able to see the roads layer, which is highlighted in yellow. You're able to, I'm going to turn more things on so you're able to see more. You're able to see the park amenities. You're able to see the town buildings. If I was to turn on the water layer, there's multiple things grouped in here so far. And you're able to see the water mains, you're able to see the water valves, even down to CC valves too. And again, if I was to press any of the spatial points in here, the information most likely is attributed from the information that field staff is collecting. So there are multiple ways to represent it. I can represent it in a map, I can represent it in a dashboard, whatever is most useful for staff.
Very, very cool stuff. And we are way ahead of so many other municipalities in this regard. So big thanks to Lance, your predecessor, and all the field staff and the entire team that have been involved in this. There's many, many people involved. So that's fantastic. Council, do you have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to administration. Quick weird question though, where's the data stored? Is it on our own servers, or is this in the cloud, or like, it's just?
I can take this one, it's okay. Through to the mayor, to all of council, to disclose the information, so I am a part of, or we're a part of the Western Municipalities GIS Network, and we've spoken about this multiple times. Most municipalities in Canada or Alberta that are using this software, it's currently hosted in their headquarters, which is in the US. It's called Esri Redlands. There is also Esri Canada at the moment, and they're exploring options to store our data locally, to store it in our own environment, in our own space. But as of now, this data is being stored in the cloud, and it's being hosted in a server in the States.
Which is why I'll just say my comments on. Councillor Fogarty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor, my question is just simply, what's the feedback been like from staff who are using it?
They love it. Through the mayor to all of council, they love it. I come from previous municipal experience, and I have been astounded with what I've seen so far, even within these barely 3 weeks. They're coming to me telling me they aren't able to access their accounts, and it's limiting them from going into the field. And it's just a quick fix of changing the password and giving them access so that they're able to perform their day-to-day operations. It seems now that this tool is aiding them in their job roles. Like, it's aiding them to perform tasks better, to see things better, to confirm that what they're actually doing is right, and to continue moving forward.
Councillor Holden.
Through the mayor to our presenter. I heard a quick blurb that this eventually will be able, the general public will be able to access this information?
Through the mayor to all of council, I don't believe this has been discussed yet, but there is possibility of that. of course, you'd have to explore what the cost of that is if you're expanding to more an enterprise account. There is, with this organization, they actually do municipal programs that target specific projects for you. So it is possible, but it just depends.
Something like road maintenance would be a perfect little platform online, since apparently we don't do any of that. Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the mayor, this is more just a comment to council administration. This is amazing technology. From someone who's, in my previous life, dealt with paper maps, looking up for valves and hydrants. This technology is amazing. It's great to hear the staff are embracing it and running with it. I think that's a key part of it, is the staff are embracing it, and some of the demonstrations you've showed, they really are. They can only help us as a council when we're making those decisions leading up to budgets and planning, to look at our assets and get that good information to know really what we have to spend our money on. Great work, great program. Super excited that we have this.
Thank you. We'll take a motion from the floor to accept for information, please. Thank you so much for your presentation. That was amazing. Councillor Fogarty.
I move that council accept the asset management system update for information.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. You voted in favor, Councillor Piaseczny. I missed your hand there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Next up, Ms. Williams, Committee of the Whole meeting, September 29th, 2026. Will it be less than 3 hours?
Hopefully.
Depends on the chair. Yeah, it depends on the chair. All right, Ms. Williams, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So council approved the 2025-2026 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting schedule at the annual organizational meeting. Additional meetings may be scheduled throughout the year as workloads and emerging issues evolve. Committee of the Whole meetings provide council with a dedicated time to review, discuss, and provide feedback on matters before those items return to council meetings for consideration. With that, administration is recommending an additional meeting be scheduled in the month of September for September 29th, 2026. That I will take any questions.
No questions. Motion from the floor, please. Councillor Taylor.
I move the council schedule a committee of the whole meeting on September 29th, 2026, 7 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? I'm just trying to move this meeting along. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Chachka, Economic Development Officer, Business Security Rebate Program, Phase 2. I almost used your old title again. Come on up.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just need one moment. I accidentally closed out my program with my notes. Sorry, it's taking a minute to load up. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to present the Business Security Rebate Program Phase 2. Just a little bit of background on the program, which was discussed at the Committee of the Whole in June. Okay, thank you. Was that 5 businesses received grants during the first phase of the Business Security Rebate Program, which was the downtown core. We discussed the positive impacts on downtown safety, and feedback for council or the committee was to bring this back for consideration. So funding for Phase 2 is $25,000, and $10,000 of that comes from the 2025 operating budget and $15,000 from the 2026 operating budget. Some amendments that administration is recommending to the terms of reference are to add the monthly monitoring fees as an eligible improvement,
Previously, they were not included, and the recommendation is because many businesses use a service provider for their security cameras, and the locked-in contracts that they're in have that capital built into their programming. So we were wanting to add that in as they are paying for capital costs through that contract. In addition to that, to change the wording from 100% of the rebate of eligible costs up to $1,000 per unit or business facade with a limit of 1 application per business. Previously, it was per titled business, and we ran into some conflicts where if you kind of think of a mini mall, that mini mall could be one entire title, and there could be several businesses, and the first business to apply would be eligible, and the other ones would not. There were some conflicts there that didn't quite seem fair, so that is the reason for that recommendation. Another recommendation is for phase 2 is the enhancement of the locations. The businesses still need to operate a storefront along 42nd to 75th Street and between 2nd and 4th Avenue, which is the highway corridor, or between 1st and 6th Avenue and 48th and 52nd Street, which was the downtown core. It is also inclusive of all business storefronts along the parallel collector roads, and administration anticipates applications would be available shortly pending council approval, with phase 2 concluding June 30th of 2027 or until the funds are utilized. And this graphic here is just showing the phase 1 downtown core that was just mentioned on the previous slide. Administration's recommended motion is listed on the screen, and we certainly welcome any questions from council.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns on the presentation? We talked about this in committee previously. I do have one question, Ms. Chachka. Are we planning a phase 3 for the areas east of the overpass? 'Cause we do have some businesses, industrial facilities over there, or is just the 1 and 2 phases?
Thank you for the question through the mayor to all of council. So the initial program did recommend a phase 3, and that is certainly an option to propose. There's also an alternative motion, I think, that's in the package. If council wanted to include it all at once, that's also a possibility.
Thank you very much. I think we need to focus on the highway corridor because that's probably our highest problem area, and then look at phase 3 afterwards. Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll take a motion from the floor, please. Councillor Pasechny.
I move the council approve the implementation of Business Security Rebate Program Phase 2 in accordance with the terms referenced as set out in Attachment 2.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Chachka.
Thank you.
And do we have a G7? Was the foresting G7? Okay. G7, the Highway 16 East Fortis Powerline Upgrade quote presented by Mr. Kittlitz, General Manager of Infrastructure and Planning.
Thank you once again, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing us to bring this as a walk-on this evening. The motion before council is the council approves a budget increase of $36,000 for the Fortis Underground Powerline Installation Project between 59th Street and 70th Street within the north ditch of Highway 16 East Corridor, funded from the Energy Reserve for a total project cost of $851,000, excluding GST. Council, remember during the June 16th regular meeting with council, administration presented some options for some modifications to an existing Fortis project to upgrade some infrastructure along 70th Street from Glenwood down to Highway 16 East, and then east towards between 70th and 59th Street. There was various underground options presented. Council chose option 3, which was to bury the proposed overhead power line between 70th Street and 59th Street. At the time, Fortis had an estimated cost for that project to be about $740,000 and change, but they did mention that until the design was done and a formal quote was submitted, they wouldn't be able to give us the paperwork to authorize that work to proceed. At that time, on June 16, council passed a motion that approved that option 3 and gave administration a maximum value of $815,000 for when that quote came in. We did receive that quote just recently on August 13th. Unfortunately, it came in over the approved amount that council had given administration. So thus, administration is here today quite simply to ask if council wishes to proceed and approve the initial funding of just over $35,000, again, to be funded from that energy reserve.
All right, thank you. Council, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll take a motion from the floor, please. Councilor Pizicini.
I guess my motion just be pretty simple. I would move that we approve a budget increase of $36,000 for the Fortis Underground Power Line installation project between 59th and 70th Street with north edge of Highway 16 current funded from the Energy Reserve for the total project cost of $851,000 excluding GST.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, debate? Councilor Fogarty.
Even though I voted initially in favor of this, and I know we did have it set to up to 815,000, from the underground installation being approximately 740,000, now up to 851,000, I'm going to vote against this motion.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? I'm going to vote in favor of it. The money is coming out of the energy reserve, and the purpose of that energy reserve is to do underground burial, and with the planned upgrades to the highway, as well as Fortis repainting the poles in that area. It's going to be way more aesthetically pleasing. Also, being a backup line to the community, the less risk of people hitting those poles or trees falling on them or wind, having those underground, I think, is critically important. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. We are going on to council committee reports. Council, is there anything you want to highlight in your committee reports before we take the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council and everyone watching, I just want to say that I attended the Renaissance Fair on July 24th to 26th, and just to reiterate some numbers that were in my report, on the Saturday, there was 1,932 people that attended the Renaissance Fair on that Saturday, with 120 additional people attending the concert, and then 584 people on the Sunday. This does not include children under 5, so over 2,600 people attended our Renaissance Fair. I was told this is now the largest family-friendly Ren Fair in the province. Hotels were busy, restaurants were packed, local vendors on site were extraordinarily busy. This has become a focal point in our community, and they're only 4 years into it. So hats off to Canoe, the community group that organizes that, and of course the partnership with the town does help that. So just hats off to the volunteers who rolled up their sleeves to make this event happen year after year. It's an incredible feat, and it's something positive for our community.
Thank you. Anybody else? See, now I'll take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
I motion that council accept the August 18th, 2026 council committee reports as set out in attachments 1 through 6 for information.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. We're going to go to notice of motion. We have 2 notice of motion tonight. Councillor Pizicini.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my notice of motion has a 2-part, and I'll explain it for the first one. So the first one is I move that council dispense the requirement to provide notice for motion pursuant to section 19.10 of meeting procedures bylaw number 2281. The reason for that is more just for an interest in time. Waiting for the notice of motion to go all the way ahead to, it'd be 2 meetings from now, so it would really delay all these motions and the decision. And this way we can, the second part of my motion, we can have that information brought to the September meeting so that we'd have that meeting information available for that notice of motion. So that's my first motion, is the council dispense.
Okay, can you just repeat that motion, please?
Yes, the motion is that council dispense the requirement to provide notice for a motion pursuant to section 19.10 of the meeting procedures bylaw number 2281.
All right, thank you, Councillor Pisichny. Council, do you have any concerns or questions regarding that? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And motion number 2, please.
Yes, do you want me to move it first, or do you want me to give me my background first?
Why don't you give your background first, and then you can move it.
Okay, as I put in our package, I was not on the prevailing side of the motion, but I do believe that council didn't have all the information to make a decision. And so my notice of motion is towards the proposed design scope and costs regarding the fire hall envelope. And what it is council was given very quickly what I believe are AI renderings of the building, what it looked like, and decisions were made on, oh, that looks like it'll look nice. And we were told it would be an envelope similar to the panels that they're putting on our current Maltese facility, which are a seamless panel that is insulated, that is secured with no visible screws, and a very attractive product. But that was only going to happen on the very front page where the front entrance is. The north side of the building was actually going to be strapped, insulated, and then a very inexpensive metal that you would generally see in an industrial area was going to be placed on the side of the building, covering the very attractive brick that is on there. They failed to mention too that, to my understanding, is that there's no covering on the brick that's in front of the base. So not even the whole envelope is being addressed in this. So this information wasn't provided to council at that time. And also, the reason for the envelope was for energy savings, but no numbers were given of estimates of, by adding this insulation to a building of such, how much we would save in it. Because to me, to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to save minimal amounts of energy, to me, is not a good use of taxpayers' money. And maybe to throw a bit of background into that, there is countless buildings in this community that are concrete block. A lot of our commercial buildings in this community are concrete block, and you don't see any private businesses strapping their buildings and putting tin on the outside to try and save a little bit of utilities, especially on buildings that have overhead doors. The fire hall is a shop, for lack of better terms. It has very large overhead doors. You can't get any more insulation on those doors. So I think that we didn't have a full package of what the actual benefits are to spend the money on that insulation. So that is the background on it. I don't think we made a decision. We made a very quick decision based on a very quick piece of paper that was given to us. So I'll move my motion now. Is that my notice of motion, is that council direct administration to bring forward a report outlining the proposed design scope and cost, which actual designs, looks, and products, and available options for the fire hall building envelope project to our next regular meeting of council in September.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. We'll open the floor to debate. Mr. Hawken, you just want to supplement? Go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Pisichny. So I just, in anticipation of this motion, I just want to go through how administration's approaching this potential report. And then if we're missing anything, I'd like to get feedback to ensure that we have all the information you want in that future report. So how we're approaching it is the report will talk about what problem we were trying to solve, what information led us to initiate the project, what our RFQ intended to accomplish, what options we actually received through the public procurement process, why we selected the preferred proposal, and then what other potential approaches could exist but need additional analysis because we did not get them through the procurement process. So that's how we would outline the report. If there's other information you would like to see, please let me know.
And I think, too, what was mentioned is the cost analysis of the savings versus the cost of actually moving forward. We will open the floor to debate. Council, if there is any debate or any questions on this motion. Councillor Holden.
Through the mayor to council and administration. After I was able to return back to town, I did a drive-by in some of our industrial areas, and the same type of material that is proposed for this fire hall envelope is on many, many buildings in town in the industrial area. The fire hall is a kind of a central location within a large residential area of town. I think it would be a tragedy almost that we would cover up that beautiful brick there. I think we need to find a different way in which to save some money if the insulation can be done from the inside out. I totally am in favor of this motion. I looked at some of those buildings and their paint is peeling off it and it just looks absolutely terrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further debate or questions or comments? Councillor Fogarty.
Through the mayor to all of council, I'm also going to vote in favor of this motion. I think that the brick looks really nice, and I think that there was, I was absent at the last meeting as well, but I do think there was a lack of information provided to make an appropriate decision in this case.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm going to vote for this motion. Because I can understand that some members of council are passionate about this, but I also want to say that I don't blame administration for the information that we were given. Because basically they've only followed what we've been saying for the past 5 years. And for the past 5 years, we've said we want functional over fancy. And that came up throughout our multiplex debate, is we had an opportunity with our multiplex, we could have fancied up that building incredibly. Instead, nope, we're focusing on what's on the inside. We're focusing on providing services. So functional over fancy. And at the end, you know, that giant arena that we're going to build is going to be a giant box, right? So I look at what we've been saying, and that administration hearing that, saying, okay, functional over fancy, we're looking at cost, and this is what they're going to provide to us, right? The second thing I'll say is buildings do change. Like, buildings change over time. This building used to be the fire hall. Ironic, but it used to be. Buildings change, outside looks change. And if we're getting down the slope of now for every single capital project, basically administration needs to provide a picture, drawing, renderings. I'll let you know, that's going to be a mountain in a budget package. And all of a sudden, if we're now, you know, wanting to select paint colors and floor designs, we're really getting super nitpicky here. So perhaps, we need to ask better questions about what it looks like. Councillor Positioning, a month ago, you asked a question. Okay, fair enough, and it spurred the debate. What's it going to look like? What's the final design? And I respect that. But it should also be noted, we actually approved this 3 times now. We approved it in November in our operational capital budget. We approved it again in May when we redid it again, and then we approved it a month ago. Right? There were questions then, but the first 2 times we didn't ask any questions. And if it was on budget, work would have been completed, and that would have been it. So I think it stems to this council that we need to ask better questions. So administration, I don't believe that they did anything wrong in terms of what they provided. They provided the same information they provide all of our capital projects. They provided a number, what it is. If we have want further information, we want to know what it looks like, then we have to ask. So again, I'm voting for this because certain members of council are passionate about it, and we'll see where this goes. But I also draw caution that, if we're telling administration now we want all this information ahead of time, that's really going to bog down what they do. You want that information, I think you need to ask for it.
Thank you. Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, when I look at this motion, I'm going to vote in favor of this motion as well. You know, I did vote the other way the first time hesitantly, and I was hesitant on that vote because, the fire hall's a little bit passionate to myself as well. And I do agree that brick siding is very attractive. Again, a little bit of old school, maybe I am at that. But again, I think once we get a little more information, a little clearer, again, on those values that we're looking at saving on the energy, I think it'll create a much clearer picture for us to make a better informed decision. So I will be supporting this motion.
Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Yes, through the mayor to administration and all of council. I'm not going to reiterate everything that's been said here, but I do agree that this wasn't the fault of administration. Sometimes, though, these things are going to happen, and I don't make decisions with my ego, and sometimes I have to put aside and say there's new information that has come up or I've become aware of. And it's my job if I feel that there's a way to get information and be able to reconsider, then that is something that I'm sitting here to do. So I will be supporting this motion fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson-Lear. I'll speak to this. I spoke in favor of it. I'm not as concerned about the design. I understand the passion and how people feel about brick buildings. I don't find the brick on that building that attractive, to be honest. And you look at the orange capping around the building, it's not a nice, beautiful building. It could use some TLC, and I'm certainly in favor of that. But I do think there is more information that can be provided here. If you're going to make an argument that it's centrally located and it's going to look horrible, but then on the flip side, 2 blocks away, we have another building. And yes, it might be a little bit, might be different materials, but when you drive by, it's going to look pretty close to the same. That's not going to get me to switch my way of looking at this. Now, if you're talking about the difference between what we're going to spend on this versus what the cost savings are on the energy side, I think there's a very valid argument there that this project may not be necessary, considering the function that you pointed out. It's a shop, but for that, I look forward to further information. I think this is a good example of when I see an agenda package and I see projects coming forward, I have a certain perception of what that project is. Until Councillor Pisichny asked that question, I didn't know that we were going to change the look of the building. And I think that needs to be clearly defined by administration and clearly articulated. And especially if you are going to be changing a look of any building, there needs to be that acknowledgement, and pictures are certainly should be included in that. I don't think we need to go into the detail of the flooring and that sort of thing. So I think that is a lesson for administration and a lesson for council to ask those questions. So, and I do agree with Councillor Taylor's point. We always say functional over fancy and try to save money here and try to save money there. And we're turning around and saying, well, no, we don't want to do that in this particular case. I'm a little, that's not a good position for administration to be in, because we're kind of, I think, sending some mixed messages there. So with that said, I do welcome more information, and thank you for Councillor Pisichny to bring this forward, and I will be supporting the motion. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously, and we have a second notice of motion. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear. You need to queue up. Yeah.
Want me to make the motion first?
You can give
Yes.
whatever background you want, as long as it's not rehashing everything.
It's pretty much rehashing. I'll just make the one statement that project renderings illustrating the extent of the proposed changes to the fire hall were presented to council at the July 21st, 2026 meeting and were not included in the agenda package provided in advance. Given the extent of the proposed changes to the appearance of the building and the additional capital expenditure being approved, reconsideration would provide council with an opportunity to review the proposed design scope, costs, and available options more fully before proceeding. I just wanted to add the cost savings on the energy side. This motion is not up for debate tonight. It's just giving notice to council that it will be on this September 1st.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Wilson-Lear. So with that, we'll have a more fulsome discussion coming up September 1st. All right. If there's no other further items, we will go into closed session. Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I move that council move into closed session.
Pursuant to sections 20.
Where am I at here?
Sections 20, 22, 29, 30, and 32 of the Access to Information Act. All those in favor? The motion's carried unanimously. All right, we'll call this meeting back at a closed session at 11:02, and we do have a couple motions coming out of closed session. Council. Councilor Taylor?
I move the council direct administration to reduce the pricing on Hillendale Phase 2 lots 2 to 15, 17 to 19, 21 to 25, and 60 to 61 by 25% from the existing 2025 market prices.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. And we have another motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
I motion that council authorize administration to enter into negotiations for the disposition of land as directed in closed session.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously, and I will adjourn this meeting at 11:03 p.m.